first MCU movie in a while, actually. Alright, Marvel, hit me.
5 minutes later.
What's up, YouTube? My name is Gio, and Black Widow is the first movie the MCU has released since Spider-Man Far From Home. So needless to say, I've been kind of itching to see what the MCU has been doing on the film front. However, if this is the quality to expect from the MCU going forward, I think we would have been better off if we didn't bring back half the population. Black Widow is probably the most disappointing movie I've seen in a while, and it stems from the fact that the writing is a disaster on multiple fronts. From the amount of plot armor given to the main cast, to the character assassination of Natasha, this was not the movie one of the most beloved characters in the MCU deserved. And I'm here to break down why. So sit back as I explain why Black Widow is the MCU's biggest disappointment. Also, if you end up enjoying the video, like, subscribe, comment, and turn on the notification bell so you are notified whenever I release new content, and it helps with algorithm stuff. For those of you who haven't seen the film, Black Widow follows Natasha Romanoff between the time of Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. After finding out from her adoptive sister, Yelena Belova, that the same place that turned her into a mindless killer is still operational, the two go on a mission to find a man named Dreykov, who is the head of this place, also known as the Red Room, and is pretty much the person that turned Natasha into the Black Widow. Them, along with the help from their adoptive family, set out to find the Red Room, free the remaining widows that have been mind-controlled with a cure that helped Yelena, and kill Dreykov once and for all. Also, for the rest of the video, I will be referring to these as the Widow Cure. Now, with that basic understanding of the plot, I think the best way to start with breaking down this train wreck has to be the rampant plot armor in this movie. I mean, we all know Natasha is going to survive, but her and Yelena lived through moments that are utterly ridiculous. I mean, look at this scene. Yeah, she should be in a lot more pain instead of getting up and being more or less perfectly fine. But that's cool. It's just a small fall. It's not like it was from any greater distance. Okay, well, you could still live that. It's not like they survived practically a point-blank explosion. What the hell is this? Especially that explosion with Yelena. How in the mother of God did she survive this? Remember when in Iron Man, Tony got a front row seat to an explosion and even with body armor almost died? Hell, he would have if he wasn't saved by Yinsen. That's back when an explosion meant something. This barely scratched Yelena. In fact, she regains consciousness mere minutes later. Or better yet, how about the fact that Natasha quite literally gets saved by the metaphorical bell at the end of the movie? For context, at the start of the film, General Ross is hunting down Natasha, and by the end of the movie, he has her surrounded. We are about to see the confrontation until the movie cuts to black, and next thing we see is that Natasha has somehow escaped. What? How the hell did Natasha get out of that? Or better yet, why would the writers, directors, or anyone not think we'd want to see that go down? The editing in this movie also does a great job at protecting our heroes. Like, this is some Last Jedi disappearing weapons level of bad editing. Look at this. Alexei is currently fighting his way through some guards, and then, like magic, poof! No guards. It's not like we would have liked to see a super soldier fight his way out of a Russian prison or anything. However, this scene with Melina is even better. She has kicked open a vent, and then within 2 seconds, she has crawled out and is ready to nail this guy in the face. I mean, she practically teleported. God, these characters might as well have horseshoes shoved up their asses with how lucky they all are. But plot armor doesn't just protect our characters, it makes whoever they are fighting immensely stupid. This is best put on display when Natasha and Yelena try to break Alexei out of a Russian prison. He is pretty much the girl's adoptive father and was close with Dreykov, so they believe he may know the location of the Red Room. Now, before I touch on how Natasha and Yelena pretty much have the Mario invincibility star, we need to address their plan real quick. Their idea to break Alexei out of jail is to send him a Red Guardian action figure in the mail, hope the guards don't f with it, and that Alexei pulls a string on the back of the toy so he finds an earpiece. All while Natasha and Yelena are in the air with a helicopter at the exact time Alexei puts on said earpiece, and expects him to just walk out the prison without anyone noticing.
Not a great plan.
And who would have guessed that their plan wouldn't work out too well? So Natasha and Yelena have to intervene, and these have to be the most incompetent prison guards ever. I have seen stormtroopers with better aim than these morons. I mean, shoot her, f***ing shoot her. Oh come on, she's literally just standing there. Okay, really, now Yelena, how are you this bad? Just f*** off. By having scenes like this that pretty much portray the main characters as invincible, it sucks away all potential stakes the movie can have, and as a result, it never makes the audience feel like our characters are in any danger. Unfortunately, stupidity isn't exclusive to this scene. The whole movie is filled with dumb decision after dumb decision. Take Yelena's plan once she acquires the case full of a cure for the mind control widows. Her plan is to get Natasha to bring this cure to the Avengers, so she sends the vials to her from the Budapest safe house with a picture of them when they were kids attached. And that's it. No writing, no clue, nothing. Just a picture of them as kids should have given Natasha all the information she needed. Obviously, Natasha is confused, so she goes to the safe house and finds Yelena. After a completely pointless fight, Natasha asks Yelena about the vials, and she snaps at her.
I came here because I thought you wouldn't.
If you didn't think I'd come here, why'd you send me this?
You brought it back here?
If you didn't want Natasha to come there and bring the vials, then why send it with no instructions or explanation? Just a post-it note or something to fill Natasha in on what the f*** is going on. Luckily, it seems that if Natasha and Yelena put their heads together, they can come up with an even dumber plan than that. I already mentioned the mental handicap that was their plan to free Alexei, but what I didn't mention is that after they free him, he reveals that he doesn't know where the Red Room is, but their adopted mother Melina would, as she worked more closely with Dreykov than he did. They just have to go to St. Petersburg. The only problem is that they may not have enough gas to make it. And my question to that is, how close did you think the Red Room was to the prison to where you were comfortable having a quarter of a tank of gas? But by far, one of the dumbest decisions made by our heroes has to be during the climax of the movie. Here, our main cast all get to the Red Room, and Natasha finally gets to confront Dreykov. But before she is able to kill him, the widows stop her and start beating the shit out of Natasha. However, just in the nick of time, because clearly there's a chance Natasha dies here, Yelena throws all the vials of the cure attached to a flashbang in order to free all the widows from Dreykov's control. This here has to be the most moronic, low IQ play I have ever seen for a multitude of reasons. For one, why would you need to use all the vials? This is a formula you are going to need to attempt to replicate, and it works like a gas. So what is the purpose of using them all? I mean, 2 vials didn't go off, so clearly you could have only used a few. But on that note, how the f*** did 2 vials survive that? From the look of it, Yelena used an M84 stun grenade. For those of you who don't know how this particular flashbang works, basically it consists of a fuse cartridge inside of a steel casing, and once you pull the pin, the magnesium within the fuse undergoes a chemical reaction that, while not creating shrapnel like a regular grenade, produces light, sound, heat, and smoke. What I want to focus on is that sound. It disperses through the holes of the stun grenade, which can reach up to 170 decibels. Meanwhile, it only takes about 100 decibels to break glass. Based on this, there is physically no possible way for any of these vials to not shatter, especially in combination with the heat that grenade would produce, and on top of that, these are all strapped to a steel casing, so once that hits the ground, those vials are getting smashed into a million pieces. But don't you worry, our heroes aren't the only ones who have an IQ equivalent to roadkill. The villains in the movie are just as brain dead. Let's start with something simple, with the location of the Red Room. Now, when you think of a place that has been hidden from the world for decades, you would imagine an underground bunker, or maybe some compound in the middle of the Russian wilderness. Not a giant flying base. How in the hell did nobody know where this place was? Look at how big it is. I probably could have seen it if I looked outside my house, it's so damn big. This design choice was probably made by the writers just so they could have their third act CGI fight, rather than actually having the base make sense. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's go back to Natasha fighting those widows. Now the context to this scene is that Dreykov ordered the widows to kill her slowly, which I guess makes sense because we need a fight scene. But what do these highly trained widows that have the capability of influencing almost every country on Earth do? They fight Natasha once at a f***ing time. Very spaced out too, might I add. Instead of surrounding her as to barely give her any wiggle room to escape, they decide, let's just wait our turns, we wouldn't want to be rude. These are supposed to be our incredibly well-trained assassins. Lee Harvey Oswald could do a better job than these morons. At least he can make a bullet fucking curve. But after all of that, I have to say, Dreykov's stupidity is probably the funniest screw-up in the film. Look at this. Natasha has Dreykov right where she wants him, but for some reason, she can't kill him. Well, that is because Dreykov is giving off a certain pheromone, and every widow ever has been implanted with something to where if they smell Dreykov, they cannot cause harm to him. Yeah, I'm not joking. This was an actual decision made by the writing team. Ignoring the fact that Natasha can just walk out of range of the smell if she wanted to and throw one of those sickle things, it's shown that all she has to do to get around this is to
sever the nerve.
So that's fairly easy for someone to get around. I guess the pheromone plan as a last resort wasn't as smart as you thought it was. Now, if only there was another way to control someone's actions more effectively that has been shown in the MCU before.
Желание, żawoy, zinadziet, rozwiedź, drosowy wagon.
A few inches later.
I mean, seriously, the Russians had this technology for decades. Why not use it on the widows? Dreykov, your complete stupidity might make you the worst villain in the history of the MCU. Now, if you've seen any bit of promotion for this movie, you've probably noticed that I haven't talked about someone yet. That being Taskmaster. This has to be the biggest waste of a villain I have ever seen. Now, normally for my videos, I don't look at these movies or TV shows from an adaptation perspective. So 9 times out of 10, I don't really care if something is changed from the comics. It'd be nice to stay accurate, but if it doesn't affect the writing, it won't change my view on the project. However, I'm going to break that rule because my god, this version of Taskmaster sucks so hard in comparison. To give you some background information, in the comics and most interpretations of Taskmaster, he's a henchman for hire with a pretty snarky personality and has photographic reflexes, meaning he has the superhuman ability to copy and learn any action just by watching someone do it once. Meaning this man could and has perfectly mimicked the fighting styles of Ant-Man, Bullseye, Captain America, Daredevil, Elektra, Hawkeye, Iron Fist, Iron Man, Moon Knight, Punisher, Spider-Man, Thor, and f***ing Wolverine, just to name a few. From this description alone, the possibilities with this character are damn near endless. He could be a recurring henchman in several MCU movies, and we can see how differently each hero handles him while he is mimicking their fighting style. Or if that's too repetitive, Taskmaster would make a great Avengers villain, especially for a new team who wouldn't know each other very well. They would have to get closer as a team and know each other's individual weaknesses in order to defeat him. But in this movie, Taskmaster is revealed to be Dreykov's daughter, who somehow survived this explosion, got her mimicking abilities through cybernetic augmentation rather than just superpowers, and was put under the same mind control as the other widows. I don't know who to call brain dead here. Dreykov's daughter, or the nitwit that programmed her cybernetics, because Taskmaster is stupid. For context, look at this scene right before Natasha's first confrontation with her. Here Taskmaster is trying to get the vials of the widow's cure that is currently in Natasha's car. So our highly trained cybernetic assassin tries to get the vials by blowing up the damn car. Oh, and Natasha walked away from this with just a few bruises, but besides that, may I ask why? Why blow up the whole ass car when your goal isn't to kill Natasha? If you knew where she was, you could have just waited for her to leave the car and take it. No big scene, no collateral damage, nothing. But instead, Taskmaster decides to do the equivalent of killing a spider with a nuke. It doesn't help that she only shows up 3 times in the movie, and is more of an inconvenience than an obstacle, as she doesn't provide much more of a threat to our heroes than any of the other widows. I mean, seriously, why the hell are you just walking? But by far, the biggest missed opportunity with this character is shown in the climax of the film. As a result of bad writing during the final fight with Natasha, Dreykov's daughter gets exposed to the widow's cure, which means any hope of having Taskmaster be a returning villain with an actual interesting set of skills in the MCU is deader than, well, Natasha. And once again, this curing a Taskmaster is a byproduct of bad writing. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that conveniently 2 vials of the case survived after Yelena's stun grenade plan. One for Natasha to give to Melina to replicate, and the other to cure Taskmaster, which means the only reason that 2 vials and only 2 survived is because the writers wanted Natasha to cure Dreykov's daughter, as they had no plans for Taskmaster in the future of the MCU. This is where we get to the character assassination of Natasha, something that has been a running theme lately in the MCU, and this movie is able to do it with just 2 concepts. We will start with the less offensive idea, which is the mere existence of this family Natasha suddenly has. What I mean by this is that in Avengers Endgame, we get this line.
I used to have nothing, and then I got this job, this family, and I was better because of it.
Meaning that the Avengers were her first real family, and we all accepted that. Then this movie comes out, and by retconning these people into Natasha's life, it kinda makes her an uncaring ass. Yelena even calls her out on this.
And you? You got out. Dreykov made sure no one could escape. Are you gonna say anything?
I thought that you got out and were living a normal life.
And you just never made contact again?
It is a valid question. If Natasha truly believed she took down the Red Room, why would she not go looking for Yelena? Would she really just assume that she would be able to get out of the organization when it took the combined efforts of Hawkeye and S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to get Natasha herself to leave that life? This is a general problem when trying to retcon important characters into the middle of a story, as it inherently brings up several questions that all can't easily be answered. Like, how has no one found the behemoth that is the Red Room? Why didn't Natasha mention this old family when talking to Steve in Endgame? Why didn't she call for their help in Infinity War? Or better yet, you have an army of widows now that owe you their lives. I'm sure all of them would be willing to help Natasha out during a fight that, if they lose, will lead to the death of half the universe. Yeah, that was the least offensive idea out of the 2. Which leads me into the complete destruction of Natasha's character. But first, let me ask a question. Why would Natasha go through the extra trouble in the climax to cure Dreykov's daughter? Well, I'll tell you that it's not out of the kindness of her heart, rather she does it out of guilt. What guilt, you may ask? Well, remember when I said Dreykov's daughter somehow survived this explosion? Well, she was actually collateral damage. This attack was meant to kill her father. And who was willing to let a child die in a fiery explosion in order to kill Dreykov? F***ing Natasha. You know how throughout the MCU we get to hear bits and pieces of a mission Natasha and Hawkeye went on in Budapest? Well, in this movie we get a glimpse of it. Pretty much Natasha had to kill Dreykov as a final part of her defection towards S.H.I.E.L.D. And apparently she thought to use Dreykov's daughter to make sure that he was in the building. Never mind the fact that there are millions of other ways to make sure that he is in there without using a child as a threat detector, like use one of Hawkeye's trick arrows, or maybe tap into the building security, or I don't know, look at the building from a different angle. But let's ignore that and just look at this decision made by Natasha. She is trying to, as she puts it, do some good in the world to make up for her crimes, and joining S.H.I.E.L.D. was a part of that. So, in order to shed this persona of a ruthless killer, she allowed a building to drop on a child. There is no way to look at this without seeing Natasha as a horrible person. I don't care that she felt some kind of guilt about it. She's referring to this child as just collateral damage, and only starts to feel bad when she realizes that Dreykov didn't die in the explosion. Meaning if he was actually dead, Natasha wouldn't have a problem with the fact she flattened a child like a goddamn pancake. Remember in Civil War, when Tony saw how a kid with a bright future died as a result of the Avengers' collateral damage? He's so broken up about this that he tries to do everything in his power to prevent something like that from happening again. I mean, Natasha even agrees with him in this movie, so she should be more shaken up that she had to kill a child. Congratulations, Marvel, you managed to screw up another character within the span of 2 hours. And worst of all, it was one of the original Avengers that has been overdue to have a movie for a long time now. And you know what really irritates me about this brain-dead movie? Is that the writers pretty much had a better concept for a story gift wrapped for them on a silver platter. All they had to do was turn the Budapest mission into a movie. Have Jeremy Renner return as Hawkeye, you could have a better Taskmaster, and it would make sense to have Natasha make some more ruthless choices that don't involve blowing up a child. Like, she still thinks as if she was an assassin, and Clint has to keep her in check. and inevitably is the one to change her for the better. I mean, listen to how they describe the mission in the movie.
Dracov's dead. It took almost destroying the entire city just to get to him. We rigged bombs.
Who's we?
Clint Barton. That's what I'd call him, floating a 5-story building and then shooting it out with the Hungarian special forces. Took 10 days in hiding before we could even get out of Budapest.
That sounds sick. Plus, it would also make this scene from Endgame hit even harder than it already did, as now we get to see what Natasha and Clint have been through together. So seeing them trying to save each other one last time would be even more effective. But instead, the writers decided to write the script within 11 days. I am not joking, they actually wrote this dog water of a script in a little over a week, and as a result, permanently damaged one of the MCU's most popular characters. Black Widow is a movie that frustrated me to no end, and has made me believe that we are in a low point of the MCU. The only character I kinda care about coming out of this movie is Yelena. Yeah, she makes dumb decisions, but she probably gets the best moments in the movie, and the actress Florence Pugh? I don't know. No, but she just adds so much charisma that at times it hides the god-awful writing. Other than that though, the MCU hasn't exactly been at the top of its game. I mean, we all knew following up the Infinity Saga was going to be hard, but nothing that Marvel has put out as of late has been written well or even consistent with the MCU. And this low point can be seen with Black Widow. I mean, the movie's sales dropped 67% on its opening weekend, and no one is really talking about any upcoming Marvel projects. What If gets spoken about a little bit. I've barely seen any talk about Shang-Chi, and the Eternals might as well not even exist, it's so forgettable. Not to mention that Disney's choice to put Black Widow on Disney Plus on the same day as the theatrical release not only pissed off movie theaters, but also led to Scarlett Johansson suing Disney for breaching her contract. That's right, because Disney Plus cannibalized many of the theatrical sales for the movie, Scarlett Johansson says Disney is in breach of her contract because I guess she doesn't get paid for Disney Plus sales, only theatrical sales. Now, I don't really understand this, but I do know that this is goddamn hilarious. So yeah, saying that the MCU is a show right now would be like saying that Hindenburg was just a small campfire. As a result of incompetent writing and simply not giving a damn, Marvel not only destroyed Natasha as a character, but also made Black Widow the MCU's biggest disappointment. Anyway, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think of Black Widow? Did you guys like it? Did you not? Just let me know all down there in the comments. I am incredibly sorry for how long it took for this video to come out, but if you saw my community post, you would know that me and my dad had to drop off my brother at college, so we were driving cross country, long ass drive, God bless my dad. But yeah, so I wasn't really in the position to be working on any content. But hopefully next week, I'll be releasing the Suicide Squad video, which is the video you guys have voted on. Again, turn on notification bells so that way you are able to vote on these polls, because you get pretty much a lot of control over the content that I make. But yeah, I'll be aiming to get that video out by next week, Sunday, or sometime in the middle of the following week, as kind of an apology for how long this video took to make. I swear, I cannot make short videos anymore. So yeah, hopefully that shorter turnaround rate for a video will come true, and you guys will be getting a video a lot faster than normal. Also, something in my next video is that I'll be launching a Patreon and a YouTube membership, or just a Patreon or just a YouTube membership. I'm still figuring out what exactly I'm going to do, but it'll be giving you guys a way to support me if you want, because honestly, your guys' support that you give me is actually insane. Like, we are coming up on 10K subscribers. I never thought in my life, like, we'd be able to get that far, but it's ridiculous. This community is actually, like, we're insane. We're insane. So I'll be setting up those things to give you guys some rewards for any support you want to give. You don't have to do anything with it. There'll be no extra content there, like extra videos there. There'll be some behind the scenes things, but other than that, all the main videos will remain on the channel for free. And last but definitely not least, I have to thank Pinocchio Snout. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, but I'll show you guys on the screen. He has made 2 incredible pieces of fan art, which is the first piece of fan art I ever got and is actually insane. I even have it on my lock screen. Like, honestly, man, you were the MVP. This was the coolest thing. Absolutely made my day and just made me want to work harder, because you guys are, once again, you guys are incredible. We're close to 10K. By the end of September, hopefully we can hit 10K. But yeah, I think that's all. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys liked it and you're new to the channel, hit that like and that subscribe button. Also turn on the notification bell so you're always notified when I release new content. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later. Peace!